The previous basket is under review.
Welcome back to Stats by Will and Jim, a college basketball podcast that focuses on the numbers. We are proudly under the umbrella of the Basket Under Review Network. Please check out the site and the Discord. It's only $10 a month. Get a ton of great benefits from that. A lot of great content to read on college hoops from people that love the sport, and a lot of good chatter, good debate in the Discord. I'm Jim Root, your host here on Stats by Will and Jim, and I'm joined by Will Warren, the more eccentric and better analogies coming out of that side of the microphone. Will, how are we feeling today? We'll cover the topic in a second here, but I'm curious. I guess I'll spoil the topic. It is League Pass rankings, the teams we want to watch this season, want to watch most across the country. How are you, and how difficult or easy was this topic for you as you went through it?
In order, I think eccentric is a good way to describe me. That's
Yeah.
one of the better descriptors out there. Too, doing quite well as the Lions fatalized the Bears offseason champions narrative this weekend. A truly delicious result for my well-being.
I'm not wearing my
After
Micah Parsons jersey out of respect for you, just so you know.
no, but the helmet is in the background. I am okay if Green Bay wins, as long as Detroit's the 5 seed, which appears to be the most likely outcome anyway.
Yes.
We'll take on the NFC South winner roulette anyway. So, but this topic, it was interesting there. So, as a spoiler, we both unintentionally actually restricted ourselves to picking at least one team from each Power 5 conference. And for most, I would say for 3 of the P5s, it was very easy getting to the first team. And for a couple, I really had to think and, sit down and figure out, okay, what do I want from a team in this conference? What am I looking for? Because the good and bad side of this is that a couple of these conferences do play relatively unique styles of hoop. And attempting to figure out, do I want a team that's the best at that? Do I want a team that stands out from the pack? Like, what am I looking for here? So that this was both easy and difficult in a way.
And how much did, and I had a little bit of influence on this myself. Like, if you had a favorite player that you really like watching in specific, did that influence your decisions here at all? Or were you kind of focused on broader teams?
Broader teams mostly. I do think player and coach situation, as we'll get into, did inflect a little bit of this. But I tried and approach this. Obviously, people who are listening to this, reading our work, are going to be well familiar with formerly Grantland, now the Ringers, NBA League Pass rankings they've done for forever, which I think Zach Lowe took with him to ESPN before he went back to the Ringer. But they would include like little bits of like, how good is the home broadcast? Do they do unique things with the uniforms? And so while that's not as influential here because broadcasts are not team specific unless you're, one of the rare ones who listen to the radio shows, I like if the court looks cool, or if I know like the student section is always really good, or there's like something going on with the home court. That did I will spoil, that did push one selection for me over the edge here.
Beautiful. Yeah, I have a couple like where the fans influenced it, or the style, or something, like the style impact on the fans. Yes, I definitely had a little bit of off the court impact, which I think is fun. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
This is not strictly I need to basketball nerd out and watch the most efficient form of basketball. This is what do you enjoy watching. It is extremely subjective. So anybody at home listening, you are more than welcome to have an entirely different 10 teams than us. But yes, as mentioned, 7 Power 5 teams, and then we got 3 mid-majors at the end that we're just the most interested in watching and would want to dial up every single game this year. That is the concept. All right, before we get into that, we've got a couple little orders of business. First is the stat of the day, Will, and this one's from CBB Analytics, and it's on the rim and 3 rate teams. So the tops in the country at rim and 3 rate. I've got the very tops in the country, but then also the top 3 Power 5, and there were only 3 Power 5 in the top 25. I think one's super gettable. The other 2 maybe a little trickier, but I'm going to set you up that way. Just thinking in the Power 5, and if you want to get some mid-majors, by all means, go ahead. But strictly thinking about the top Power 5, rim and 3 rate teams on offense, who would come to mind?
Well, two of the mid majors right away I know are St. Louis and Liberty. Liberty is always at the top of this for whatever reason.
Yep.
Alabama's one.
Ding, ding, ding. Number 1 Power 5 team is Alabama.
Alabama's going to be really high. I've got to think, because 3-point attempt rate is going to play into this a bit too, and I got to think of the teams who took a medically inadvisable number of three. I'm gonna guess Creighton.
Creighton was not among this group. There is a Big East team, and the Big East team that made it really surprised me, I guess I would say. I think about them more for their defensive identity a little bit. It's not St. John's, don't worry. But
I was going to say, there's no way.
The amount of mid-rangers that Kadari Richmond and Davon Smith took, definitely.
I watched that round of 32 game. That got them off this list alone.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, we've got a Big 12 and a Big East team as the Power 5 members of the Rim and 3 rate All-Stars, I guess we'll call them.
Okay. Big East team that's like defensive identity. It wouldn't actually shock me if Providence is on this list because Kim English has usually had very high Rim and 3 rates.
It's not Providence. I think they just kind of circled the drain and gave up on any analytically sound approaches last year. Yeah. It is Marquette, surprisingly.
Oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Yeah, I think big Marquette fans will probably know the assistant Nevada Smith when he came in, kind of revitalized the offense, really focused on this, getting the shot selection optimized. And then I will say the Big 12 team has a very heavy NBA influence, if that pushes
BYU?
Yes, sir. Exactly. Okay. BYU. Yep. A lot of Rim and 3 from BYU. Some of the mid-majors you mentioned, Liberty and St. Louis. Santa Clara was actually number 1 in the entire country.
Ooh.
Herb Sendek, really getting with the times, apparently. William and Mary, Cornell, the 2 Brian Earl schools, very much in his world. St. Thomas, Sacramento State was actually a surprising one for me. I don't know if that'll be the case under Mr. Bibby this upcoming season, but it was an interesting.
Let me go ahead and lock in that it won't be.
Yeah, okay.
Where's Belmont? I feel like Belmont is always at the top of this list. I'm surprised you didn't mention them.
I only have the top 6 written down, so I imagine Belmont is going to be in that mix as well. Did I close the tab?
Wow, they're not. They're not even close.
Interesting. Very interesting. So that's our stat of the day today, folks. We will get into East Texas A&M was another one. Like, what's happening here? I didn't understand that at all. Watching them, it didn't feel like it. But all right, we will get into our topic in a second. But first, a quick shout out to Home Field Apparel, our loyal sponsor here at Stats and the Basket Under Review podcast, the old burp, our sister podcast on the Basket Under Review network. Home Field Apparel is the best place to get your college sports apparel for the upcoming hoop season and the current college football season. Just great logos, retro logos, new school logos. You've got t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies, jackets, joggers, whatever it is you're looking for. It's comfy. It's cool. It's great gear to wear. I've been wearing Mizzou gear all season. I'm pumped about the Tiger football year. South Carolina coming to town this weekend. Big one in Columbia, the correct Columbia. Sorry, Gamecock fans. But check that out. Get some gear for your team at Home Field Apparel. And when you do, make sure you use promo code BURNER15. That is BURNER15 for 15% off your first order. That lets them know you're coming from here. It helps us, helps the sponsor. It's good all around. BURNER15 at Home Field Apparel. Get over there and wear one for the team. Home Field's a great slogan. Yep, right there. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get into it, Will. Our league pass rankings for 2025-26. Again, if you're not familiar with the concept, it is the teams we most want to watch this upcoming season for whatever reason that may be. Highly subjective. We try to stick to at least one team for every P5 conference and then double down on a couple of them before we hit our mid-majors. So let's start, Will, with your first Power 5 conference team. Who is the number 1 league pass squad? It may or not be in order, folks, but we're just going to introduce them in order. Who you got, Will?
I'm just going in order of conference name, but I would have probably considered them for number 1 anyway. The Louisville Cardinals lead off my list here. The Pat Kelsey system in general really adds for watchability. I'm growing quite fond of them. So in the miscellaneous tier, I want to introduce the off the court stuff first. Number 1, very funny arena name. Very funny to think about it. The KFC Yum Center. I saw Arcade Fire there like 12 years ago. and they wouldn't stop talking about how it was called the KFC Yum Center during the show.
Just
And I was like,
totally
just play
amused
the
by
music.
it. Yeah, that's
Just
awesome.
play the music, boys. Yeah, before they got canceled. Now Louisville, I am growing quite fond of the giant bird logo at midcourt, which I believe is still a thing. Correct?
I believe so as well. I can double check,
Uh,
but yes.
it is massive. One of the largest midcourt logos I've ever seen in my life, and I thought it was ridiculous at first. And the more I've seen Louisville games over the last year, I'm like, I'm actually kind of into this. I never mistake them for another court. There's no mistaking a Louisville game, so that adds to it. But the on the court product, they're going to have. I think it's going to be deflated a tad by ACC competition, because I think we'll put this as probably the fifth of the 5P5s this year, maybe fourth. But they're going to have a real shot at no worse than a top 5 offense in the sport. They're going to play really fast and score a lot of points. Highly talented roster, of course, one of the very most talented out there. You got Ryan Conwell out there letting it rip. I'm just, man, I'm really looking forward to Isaac McNeely on this team, man. That's going to be so much fun. But Mikael Brown Jr. is going to be awesome. And a really underrated bit here, I guess it's going to depend how much he'll play. The return of Ali Khalifa to college basketball is something I can really get behind. That was such a pleasant guy to watch at BYU, so unique, and man, really rooting for him to have a huge year this year. So they lead off my list. The Pat Kelsey pressers also add like a 0.1% to this. There's any chance he could talk about his hot wife, supposedly. Could talk about like philosophy. You never really know what you're getting into with him. And I like that. I think there's a little bit of unpredictability about them, but I also know that on any given night they could drop 100.
Yeah, for all those reasons, they were my ACC initial representative. I may or may not have another ACC team on the list too, but everything you mentioned right up there. I will add, Kason Pryor is kind of a chaos agent. I don't really know
Yes.
what he's going to do when he's on the court, and I like having that element of insanity to go with the fantastic group of shooting guards, the pace. Pat Kelsey's in the TJ Otzelberger school of, is my shirt big enough or not? You decide. And I like that. I think that's another like, goofy element. Javon Hadley is one of the best cutters in the sport, and you pair him with Ali Khalifa, as you mentioned, probably the best big man passer in the sport. I think we're going to see some really cool action out of them offensively whenever Khalifa's on the floor. It's just a happy confluence of fun players, fun style, chaotic coach, couple players that are a little bit crazy. I love the discussion of the logo on the court, and even Sananda Fru, the big German guy, I think is just an element that could give them like the lob threat, the dunker, to fit into a really well-spaced offense with a bunch of shooters. It's just going to be a very pleasant team to watch. I know we predicted 2 Louisville guys for top 3-point shooters on our previous episode. Cardinals fans, this is your podcast for the season. Apparently, we're all aboard the Louisville choo-choo train. All right, so that is our initial ACC representative. I'm gonna let you take this in any direction you want for number 2. Don't have to go in alphabetical order of conference if you don't want to. If you do, by all means, go for it. But who else? Who else really came to mind for you quickly and is on your league pass ranking list?
I'll just spoil my other ACC team really quick, just to get this conference out of the way. NC State. I know better than this. I know not to pick them because there is a chance that it's a defense first team, and in general, defense first teams are not totally my bag. Even though I root for one, and I could also just as easily have said like, "Oh, Duke should be on this list," or honestly, Virginia. I could have put Virginia on here and been totally happy with my pick. But I have to go NC State because I think the Will Wade factor adds a lot here. There is also the confluence of a rarity, and why, if we did this list next year, I don't know that they would be on it, but because we're doing this list this year, they're on it. The Will Wade aura, a word I don't really like and I'm really sick of seeing, but it does fit in this case, is going to make a real difference in crowd, because NC State, I don't think either of us would think of NC State as having this massive home court advantage even in their peak years, I've never thought of NC State as being like an amazing home environment in the ACC. And I could be totally wrong because, I mean, truth be told, neither of us has really seen like dominant NC State basketball in the last 20 years. But that being said, the combination of all of that with a high dollar roster, a lot of guys who can score, a new system, a coach everybody wants, a coach that is totally unafraid to market the program too. All of that is going to add up to the best crowd experience they've had since like Jesus. What was the guy's name from the 2000s? That was awesome.
When they had Herb Sendek, the Julius Hodge team.
Julius Hodge, the
Yeah.
Julius Hodge team, like those guys ruled. I loved that NC State. So you're going to see like a total confluence of factors you haven't seen in 20 plus years. And that pushed them over the edge for Virginia for me because, like it or not, if you like Tony Bennett's system or you didn't, they have won a title. They have been very successful in the last decade. NC State did make a fairly random Final Four, but outside of that, not nearly as relevant on the national scale. So I gave them the nod. I also give them the nod because Darian Williams is just awesome.
Yeah, little booty ball. There's a couple of guys on this list that I will mention booty ball. Another thing I do really like about the NC State TV experience watching them is the student section is just on top of the court. Like both on the baseline and right behind the benches, there's a lot of very close student section seats. And I think that matters a lot. They're not like shoved in a corner or they're only on one baseline or something. They kind of envelop most of the TV coverage right behind the benches. And I think that's great. I think that adds to the environment of both playing a game there and watching it on TV. So that was big. Are we both sickos for having two ACC teams on our list? We will let the crowd decide. Okay.
I don't think so because the ACC actually has some. This is like we said, probably the fifth of the P5s, but I would not say fifth of the P5s in watchability. I actually think there's some pretty intriguing teams across the board. I will get to some teams we're not looking forward to later, but out of the 18, as I scan through the list, there's probably 14 or 15 where I'm like, yeah, I'll watch a few games of them. Like, that's not too bad.
I hope the one I have on my dishonorable mention is not in your 15. We'll find out later. Excited about that. But so the second team I had on my ACC list is actually Virginia. Probably not a surprise for people who follow like the Wheeze countdown and how high I am on them. I just can't wait to watch this international front court. I think there's so much skill involved with that, and it fits well with the incredible amount of shooting that Ryan Odom acquired in the backcourt. I think Malik Thomas is the perfect kind of connector to take advantage of the space, a downhill driver. And my colleague Matt at Three Man Weave often refers to big men as know your role all-stars. I think Dallin Hall is like a know your role all-star guard. He's not going to try to overextend himself. He's played in a bunch of different offenses with different weapons around him at BYU. And now he's back home across the country in Charlottesville. I think he's going to fit in really well there, be the distributor for all the scoring weapons that they have. Like threes are going to fire away. Virginia fans are not going to be cheering for shot clock violations defensively anymore as they were in the Bennett era. There's a little bit more fun and more verve and more intrigue to this Cavaliers roster, offensive talent. So I'm excited for that. That's the second ACC team that made my list. You already mentioned, Virginia was in the vicinity for you. So definitely somebody that we're both looking forward to watching.
Yeah. And I mean, other than that, like if we made an honorable mention list, I would toss, Duke on there just out of obligation, I guess. I also find myself oddly interested in Miami this year, which I think you touched on in the Three Man Weave previews. Just a really odd mix of players and potential serious upside, potential serious downside. I don't quite know what to expect with them, which I like.
Yep. Yeah. And as you mentioned, there's other ACC teams like I can't wait to see what Avdalas does at Virginia Tech. They're Greek, kind of like 6'8" point guard. Florida State's fun again. After some dipping years, they've got a lot of shooting. They seem to have like a clear mission in their roster build. Miami, you mentioned. If you want to watch, the roster's constructed more for defense, but I don't know what kind of coach Jai Lucas is. So, yeah, I'm much more intrigued by the ACC this year than I have in the past. But there are a couple that I'm going to hurl some mud at in the dishonorable mention. So fear not, ACC fans, you'll get a little bit of flack too. Okay, let's pivot from the ACC. Will take it any direction you would like. Who else is on your top 7? We've each named 2 from the ACC. Who's number 3 for you?
I'm going with, and I really didn't want to because this is such an obvious dumb guy pick for anybody who doesn't follow the sport. It's UConn from the Big East. That's my representative there. I did ponder St. John's a little bit. I think the Patino factor matters. I think that whatever the hell this roster is matters. I can't make heads or tails of it, and we're 6 weeks out from the season. It's intriguing. Sir, what is the quote from Blades of Glory? It gets the people going.
Oh
Something
yeah,
like
it's
that.
provocative. It gets the people going.
Yeah, that is the provocative roster. But UConn fits for me in a really exciting way. Like Caravan being back matters a lot. I love solo ball, but the secret sauce here, and nobody is talking about him, I feel. I love Malachi Smith from Dayton. Amazing passer, really underrated piece of some like good not great Dayton teams. Had a brutal injury that took him out of the 24 season. Rebounded quite well last year. Watching him run an offense is really electrifying to me. I've been all in on him since his freshman year, and this is the rare A10 to Big East transfer that I don't anticipate like any drop off for. I think he fits really well with what they do. Could have a Mondo assist rate. I love the way they run offense. I think it makes more sense this year. The Dan Hurley factor matters here too. The man is a walking threat for a technical foul, which I like. There is a UConn factor here too of the difference in home venues matters a little bit for me because they'll play some at Excel and they'll play some at Gamble. Is that it?
Yep.
On campus?
Yep.
Okay. I never remember what the exact name is. And both have like really unique setups, like same amount of fans roughly, but totally different feels to the home environment. I I can just picture like they'll play like a spitballing here, a Providence on a Wednesday night on Fox Sports 1. And it's like, hell yeah, I'll watch that. I'm intrigued by what might happen there. Dan Hurley might call the referee something he shouldn't call anybody. He might call him an MFer. That would be great. I'm all in for it because it's not me doing that. It's him. It's his money. And there's that factor. There's the Bobby Hurley gets fired and joins as an analyst for the NCAA tournament factor, which is a real potential thing that could happen. Lot of things to like about UConn this year for me.
Yeah, I can't disagree. I mean, I love that. So statistically, they're top 10 in assist rate the last 3 years. The ball movement is so sharp. They just bring in, even if it's like front court guys that know where the ball needs to be. They're so well schooled. Luke Murray is a great offensive coordinator. This is a nice pick, Will, because it also shows we are not biased towards tempo. UConn has played fairly slowly, in fact, incredibly slowly the last 2 seasons. And it can still be beautiful basketball if you're not zipping up and down. I totally agree with that. Some teams in the half court are just gorgeous, and their offensive action is like that. My disagreement here is the Hurley thing. I know he's a content machine, but he drives me nuts. Like I can't get on board with it. I know, like if you're a UConn fan, he's your guy. And honestly, if you're in journalism, he's a content machine, like I said. But sometimes he just pushes me the wrong way. And like when he's on the ground whining, complaining, I'm just like, get off my TV, get off. My Big East. Oh, go ahead.
Gives me a little bit of Mourinho vibes
yes.
from soccer. Like he was always like the Wario to Pep's Mario, and I loved that about him. Whereas like Hurley is kind of like the Wario to most coaches. Like especially like if you had Tennessee play UConn, it would be a very wild thing to watch.
Yes. Well, Mourinho wasn't he well known for like not being able to stay with a team for more than 3 years because he'd wear out his welcome?
Yes. But he had these pressers where he'd be like, if I speak, they'll suspend me. Or like, like all these different things. Like they had a derby with, I think when he was at Real Madrid, where he played 7 defenders just to like ensure Pep's team wouldn't score. Like Dan Hurley would do some shit like that.
Yes, just how can I stir the pot? How can I, piss off my rival and contort the sport into something beyond recognition? But Hurley's speak his mind at the very minimum, and we do admire that.
There is an entire section on Mourinho's Wikipedia, by the way, called Media Attention and Controversies. And I'm counting right now there are 19 tabs, like 19
Oh,
subsections
good
to
Lord.
this.
Okay. All right. That'll tell you something. This is a tough transition given media attention and controversy for my Big East team / coach, since he kind of stepped in it once. But I'm going Creighton and Mr.
Ooh.
McDermott. Just another really entertaining half court offense that is beautiful ball movement. It's basically Iowa west, north, south. Like we've got Owen Freeman and Josh Dix joining from the Hawkeyes, two really skilled offensive players that I'm sure McDermott will know how to use and employ. But the overall most intriguing thing to me about this team is if you told me to pick 5 guys to go get a stop, I would maybe have one player on the team I feel confident being a good defender, and it's Kerem Konan, a Turkish guy who I haven't really seen play Division I basketball. So the roster is not set up to get any sort of stops. I think their games are going to be efficiency explosions. Their defensive strategy lately has been heavy drop coverage with Kalkbrenner. It turns every game into a jump shooting contest. We call them the jump shooting Jays. And this team can really shoot. So I think there's going to be some big time performances. We mentioned home environments a little bit. The CHI Center is always packed to the gills with 17,000 people screaming their heads off because there's nothing else going on in Omaha except for the College World Series. Sorry, don't yell at me. But I think it's going to be a great, great crowd, a fun team to watch with pristine offensive execution and not a ton of stops. And that, to me, I'm going to enjoy watching that.
They were my number 2 for the Big East. I didn't put them on the list, but Blake Harper almost put them on the list single-handedly for me because you could tell me he plays 28 minutes or 4 minutes, and I have no idea which, because he can score in volume. He can do a lot of things for this offense. He is also probably easily the worst defender on the roster.
Which is saying something for this team.
Yes.
Yeah, it's frightening. But yeah, super skilled. 6'8" guy, played at Howard last year for those uninitiated, and almost 20 a game, but certainly gave up quite a few on the other end as well. All right, so that's ACC, that's Big East. What else we got, Will? What direction are you going in?
I'm going with God's favorite conference, the Big Ten. And this is another one that's going to be very obvious. This one didn't require much thought for me. It's Purdue. You give me the chance to watch Braden Smith operate the pick and roll, and I'm going to take it. I feel like that's kind of an easy one. He's probably your leading candidate for Player of the Year this year. I don't think he'll usurp it the way like an Edey did for Purdue. But if he'll enter as the betting favorite, he'll be at the top of the sport all year long. But it's not just him. It's Trey Kaufman-Renn, Oscar Clough on this roster. I'm really excited for. I was so bummed. And I know it was a great story with Omaha, but so bummed he couldn't make the tournament for South Dakota State last year. I've really come around on one Fletcher Lawyer, which I never expected to do.
Wow, look at this.
CJ Cox really impressed me. Omer Meyer is a really intriguing piece. You could convince me that they've only got like 6 really good players, but it feels like they generate 2 more out of thin air every year.
Yep.
And Painter's offenses are beautiful. The Purdue home court experience is always really good. So they have like the reverse. I can't remember what school we brought this up about earlier.
Oh, NC
Long
State,
morning
the
already.
student section?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. It's like the reverse NC State or reverse Michigan, where all of the students are in the corner, but it looks really cool on the broadcast for some reason. And it's kind of like a Havoc corner almost. And I like that about that. I love the damn drum. Give me the big drum everywhere. The Purdue home court experience is one of those things that's more than the sum of its parts. I love watching their games there. Added bonus here, when you get Robbie Hummel on the call, which does happen fairly frequently for Big Ten games, double added bonus, because the Big Ten has the NBC/Peacock deal. You could get Noah Eagle and or John Fanta on the call this winter. So they've got a lot of things going in their favor for me. And as a whole, I think this is our leading bet for the number 1 Ken Pom offense.
Yeah, I think we said like the highest floor, like almost impossible. They're not top 5-ish. We'd be stunned if they weren't, given the scoring, the shooting. I also want to commend you as a Tennessee guy. It probably hurts to pour some love on Purdue, given some of the postseason heartbreaks you've suffered at their hands. And I just think that's big of you. That's mature, and I respect it. I was crediting you. I was
Do
crediting.
you know how hard it is to like look at Ryan Klein's LinkedIn and see that he is an insurance agent?
Oh man, to
Ugh.
Vol fans, I'm sorry. To Boilermaker fans, I'm sure that was a
To Will Warren, you're sorry.
yes, exactly. I meant
I'm
it as a
kidding. It's not
positive.
as bad. It's honestly not as bad years down the line. Things scab over, you get over it.
Yep.
But when you get beat by an insurance agent, it does take a little longer. I'm not going to lie.
Hey, how many, like 99% of them go pro in something other than sports, Will? That's what Enterprise tells me. So
Yeah, Stetson Bennett Chevrolet will be running up, up and running quite soon.
yes,
So
exactly. Yeah, my one quick add on Purdue is attending a game there is a fantastic experience. That's not really
mhm.
a factor in League Pass, but I like the roundhouse setup of the arena, and I think that shows well on TV also. My Big Ten representative, I ended up with two, and I'm also gonna, be a bigger man and mention a team that has hurt me in the past. But Illinois, a rival of my alma mater, Mizzou. If you give me great passing and great shooting from your big men, I'm typically going to be interested. And Illinois is right up there. Tomi Ivasic is going to be the linchpin of their offense in the front court, some handoffs, playing through him in the post. He's got incredible passing instincts. Last year, he had a couple where, like, the touch pass where it barely hits his fingertips and he just redirects the ball to a cutter or a shooter. And that's what I really enjoy watching. I've said maybe on the 3-Man Week pod, my favorite play in basketball is the extra pass. Just really gets me going when I'm watching hoops. And I think they've got
The
some guys that
Ginobili.
exactly, really, really good call. They've got some guys that will make that pass, and even like just the foreign flavor of the roster. Underwood leading all the way into the Eastern European factor. Mihailo Petrovic led the ABA in assists. I think he's also an incredible passer, like a 50% assist rate in the ABA, which would have led college basketball last year. So really good ball movers. They're going to take a ton of threes. Hopefully they'll make more than last year. That would make them more entertaining to watch. But then their defense is also kind of like Creighton adjacent, where it's heavy drop coverage, take a lot of jumpers. We're going to try to outshoot you a little bit. And I think that's fun. I'm really looking forward to them. Boswell's an awesome on-ball defender. Their home environment's great. The student section also a pretty good setup for them at Assembly Hall or the State Farm Center. So I'm a fan of Illinois, and it hurts to say that, and my Mizzou friends would probably drag me for it, but had to do it. Will.
Intriguing regression factor for them too in a positive way. So they were plus 11% on two pointers last year, almost minus 3% on threes. So you usually don't see that carry over year to year. Wouldn't surprise me. They get a little better luck. They could end up like 15th or whatever in Ken Palm again, but just get way more wins out of it. So I didn't put them on my list. I had them in contention. I have to admit the comedy factor with Big Z always looms for me as like a potential watchability thing. I really do love him. Fabulous player to have as a vibes guy. Just not always fabulous on the court, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how happy or infuriated or both he makes one Brad Underwood. But yeah, I like the Illini pick here. Interesting team. I think that they're going to look very different night to night, which is good for watchability.
Very much so. Yeah, they will have some erratic outcomes because of the amount of threes they take. They do a good job of taking away the 3-point line defensively with that drop coverage, but yeah, a little bit erratic. And last year they had so many injury, sickness, weird little things that kind of impacted. Like Morris Johnson missed a while. Kasparis Yakichonis had the arm thing. Ivasic had mono. It was this weird. Every week it seemed like there was something. But I think if they kind of fire on all cylinders, they will be really, really fun to watch. Will,
They
did you
could have they could have just like an epidemic of wacko injuries. Because
yes.
the Matt Meyer, what was it, Red Bull or Monster?
Yeah, he
And
drank
he
like
like
6
couldn't go to practice.
monsters. Yeah. While he's playing video games, just chugged a
Yeah,
full
whom
6
among
pack.
us, whom amongst us hasn't sinned
Right.
before, of course.
Yes.
But yeah, that's a good one. So I have two for the Big Ten. I almost had three.
Interesting.
I backed
I do
down.
too. I wouldn't have expected this style of ball to get us both to go with two, but I'm curious who you went with.
So I had two teams here that I was debating with, and I ended up just going with the personally more intriguing situation in Iowa. Uh, I I'm just curious to see how far this can go. because this is, there are a lot of like new faces here. There is high major talent. Big Alvaro coming in is going to be a really cool piece for them. I like a lot of what's going on, but the key thing here is there are 5 players on this team that were in a Division two level 18 months ago. And there's a coach here that was at the Division two level 18 months ago. Now, they were all awesome at Drake last year, made the round of 32, yada, yada. But I just want to know how far they can take this with this core. And that is really fascinating to me. Bennett Sturts is ultra watchable. He continues to pop up on draft boards, which I think is pretty neat. Brendan Housen is like Mitch Muscari plus, which is cool. Won't be quite as big of a cardio getter as Mitch was, but Cam Manyow I really like at center. Tavion Banks was awesome as a bench piece last year. Isaiah Howard was as well. They got a 4-star on this roster and Trey Thompson, which is really interesting. Iowa as a whole, I think just across sports always intrigues me because they have such an interesting culture within their fan base. And I think it comes from having such like long-term, coaches almost in every program where you have Ferentz for 25 years. You had Lisa Bluter for, I think, 20 or 25 years, Fran for 15. Really rare thing for that to happen at any school in America. So it's going to be really intriguing to see, one, how they treat now having 2 new coaches in basketball for both programs in the same calendar year, with women's now on their second year coach. Ferentz's tenure kind of coming to an end probably soon. They're in a weird situation, but this seems to have really energized the fans as well. They like this hire. Iowa fans show up no matter what, which I really like. They have a really good home court advantage when they're, really into the team. I I feel like I'm just going to be watching a lot of Iowa basketball this winter.
Yeah, and it's an interesting style, the slowest in the country last year for Ben McCollum, but that doesn't necessarily make it a bad thing. You get so many Bennett Sturts late in the shot clock possessions, where he easily led the country in late shot clock field goal attempts last year, and that will surely be the case again this season. Yeah, I'm pretty intrigued by Iowa too. It's also my second Big Ten selection will also have this a massive whiplash in style for the fans, having watched like this insane offensive pace with not as much regard for the defensive end, where this year they'll be much slower, a little more emphasis on the defensive end, and you lose Francon. The meters of anger and fury coming out of his ears as he stares down refs or encourages his players to poke players in the eye. That didn't actually happen. I'm editorializing there after Adam Woodbury was a serial eye poker. But yeah, there's, McCollum's been a little more calm in press conferences and on the sideline, but still a highly intriguing coach just from what you mentioned, rising from D2 to where he already is now.
He has the capacity to explode, I will note.
Yes.
He learning, so I've known him for several years, but learning that his mom was like a children's court judge makes his whole shtick make a lot of sense.
Okay.
Because he seems very strict and serious on the sidelines.
Yes, I would imagine. Just the amount of players that follow him, it seems like they like playing for him at the very least. So my stylistic whiplash in the Big Ten is Indiana. I just think the fans are going to be like crying tears of joy every time they take a 3-pointer. Like the difference in 3-point attempt rate between Archie and Woodson, and now having DeVries and this roster set up for bombs away, is going to be really fun for Assembly Hall. I think they're starving for a team they want to enjoy supporting, and I'm not sure they've had that for quite a few years. Whether they're as good as Indiana fans want them to be, that's probably debatable. But I just having Tucker DeVries launching away, Nick Dorn, Reed Bailey even a little bit from the front court, Lamar Wilkerson, a gunner, a guy you mentioned for possibly leading the country in 3-pointers made last week. There's a lot of intrigue here offensively. Does seem a little bit of defensive issues, and that's kind of a theme through my choices here. But I am very intrigued by Indiana with the switch from their old style to the new style, and what the fans are going to see as like an oasis in their long desert of no threes.
They were my other potential pick here. I am looking, and one, little insane for it to be September 16 as we're recording this, and the Big Ten hasn't released their conference schedule.
That
Get it together.
seems, yeah, I'm sure Dobos are having a great time waiting to book travel. That's
Oh
awesome.
yeah, I'm sure they're just over the frickin' moon. But two, I did look. There is unfortunately only one Indiana Iowa game this year, but it's at Indiana. Um, I think we should probably fund like a group trip to that.
Hey, I like that idea. It's not too far from me
Yeah.
as a Chicago
So
resident.
that because it will it for this off season in the Basket Interview Discord, Indiana versus Iowa has been the best rivalry going between the two fan bases in terms of which one has the more legitimate team this year, which one has the more legitimate coach, the more legitimate future. A lot of hate being spewed back and forth, and boy, do I love hate.
Yes, a big time sliding doors. What if with like their coaching hires, and what if Ben McCollum was in charge of Indiana? Would he even work there? Does the personality fit the fan base? And I like that intrigue and the kind of intertwining futures that they both have with coaching hire happening in the same offseason, and the differing level of resources that each coach has. Let's call it that.
Hmm.
I don't think Ben McCollum had the Indiana budget for his roster. All right, I believe we have 2 left, if I'm
Hmm.
mathing correctly here. All right, Will. So who else do you have on your P5 watchability list?
This is my number one team overall. Uh, however, I don't even know where we're at in alphabetical, but they would be my top pick. I think that there comes to an analysis where it's like, you ever read like a movie review or a music review, and it's got all this like really flowery language. IndieWire is particularly bad about this, and you're just like, you just want them to say it's a fucking good movie. That's how I feel about BYU this year, where it's like,
Oh.
how about like, can we just say that they're going to be awesome and not describe like the 9 players on the team individually with all of their 17 plus skills? Like, I think they're just going to be really fun. But beyond that, producer Corey is a BYU fan, right? If
I'm
I'm not making that up.
not positive, but let's go with it.
He's talked about BYU a lot, so I might be inferring the wrong thing. But either way, it could be it could be bad if he's a Utah fan. I will apologize in that
Yes.
case. But BYU just has so much going for it on the court this year. For one, we talked about in an earlier pod how after I think it was February 1st or 2nd, somewhere in there, they were a top 10 team with a top 3 offense. And that was coincidentally the moment they stopped building around Igor Demin and tried to make a real team happen with Richie Saunders as the figurehead. But you get Saunders back, you get AJ DeBansa. Bobby Wright from Baylor is going to be awesome. Kiba Keita, who we talked about as a potential breakout star. And then just a lot of fun role players. I like Dawson Baker. I like Kennard Davis Jr. There's a lot going for this team. Kevin Young, the offense is beautiful to watch. The home court experience remains really darn good for BYU. I don't think they show this on TV anymore, but they will open every game. The Lakers used to do this back in the day too, with 4 big white sheets around the jumbotron in the middle, displaying like, portrait length highlights or whatever. It's an incredible viewing experience. This is peak in the Jimmer era, of course. Then they drop the sheets and then like they announce the lineups. It's a super cool thing to watch. But the BYU experience in general is really fun. Utah, the state of Utah's basketball fandom is dramatically underrated as
Man,
well.
you stole my point. That's what I was going to say in response.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those people are hoop crazy in a good way. Anytime I have ever written about BYU, anytime I've mentioned BYU in a watch list in the last 3 years, 6 BYU fans retweeted and are like, "We're mentioned in the watch list. We're the 3-star game of the week." And it's like, well, I don't ever get this from Dayton.
Yeah, exactly.
So
All
yeah,
right. Yeah.
not to hate on Dayton, but major hat tip to the BYU fans. I think I'm going to watch a lot of them this year. They're going to be a major story for a lot of reasons. Debansa being sort of the lead cause, but just because they're going to be a lot of fun on offense. I think they might be better on defense than we're giving them credit. They shored things up a bit this season. I don't think they're going to be amazing or anything, but they'll be a lot more tolerable on that end. They're going to be top 10 probably if I made a poll. I really am looking forward to watching them this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned the home crowd because BYU, shout out Utah State, even the Huntsman Center, Utah, like really, really good crowds there. And this is going to be no different. The offense is going to be fantastic. They play fast. We mentioned the rim and three rate shot selection. It's going to be an efficient, mathematically sound approach. Debansa's a better defender than I realized. I think that kind of goes to your point of the defense being a little better than expected. I went with a little bit of gut by not picking BYU, a little bit from the heart as my Big 12 representative. I even wrote down I considered BYU and have all the points I would have made. But Texas Tech is the one I went with.
Yeah.
You got to give love to JT Toppin last week. I'll give him a little love this week. Great roll man, post up threat, has started to add the 3-point game to his arsenal. Another awesome home crowd here, the United Supermarkets Arena.
Yes.
They love their hoops in Lubbock, another place with no pro team. So what else are they going to do? And we've got Luan Watts, the booty ball that I actually do enjoy watching. You can play through him. But the biggest thing here was Christian Anderson. I just love watching that guy play. I kind of got in on him early last year when I was like, I think I was looking at Yakuchonis's FIBA numbers, and I saw that Anderson had like slightly better numbers for a slightly better team in the same competition. I was like, should I keep an eye on this guy? And then he started almost every game for Texas Tech, hit some big shots. He's got kind of the big game moment, clutch moment. He'll maybe pull out the Sam Cassell big nut stance at some point if he wants to. And he's sliding over to point guard. So he's going to have the ball in his hands more. We'll see how that works out. But I love him, McCaslin team. They're really efficient offensively last year. And took a lot more threes than their opponents. And I just think they're going to maintain that level of entertainment with a star in the front court, star at guard, and a lot of shooting via the portal to go along with it.
Texas Tech is going to be a lot of fun this year. For the Big 12, I did also consider Houston briefly. I know people are sick of it by now, but I do love watching the defense. It's just a blast. They play the most, physically dominant style in the sport, and I do love that about them. And they have the gorgeous Houston Oilers alternates, which they really should make their permanent uniforms. But honestly, they don't make this less because I don't think their home court's very fun. Fertitta Center is just okay as a home court environment. I don't think it's any fault of the team or even the fans. It just doesn't seem to hold noise terribly well, and it does feel lesser on the Big 12 venue list. Like, you would certainly take a West Virginia over it, I would say.
Yeah, it's newer, and some of the newer ones lack a little bit of, so like Baylor's new place doesn't quite have the same heart to it. Texas, I think, has a little bit of the same issue. I guess they're not Big 12 anymore. They're SEC. But some of the older ones, I think, like you said, retain noise and can feel on top of you a little bit more.
Yeah, like there's, Arizona's is a great home court venue, which I really like. But yeah, it drags the experience down a tad for me, where I almost prefer seeing Houston in a big road game than I do at home.
Yeah,
but
watching them suck the life out of a building with that defense.
Yeah. Like when you see Houston travel to a BYU, for example, or a Kansas and pull off the road win, that's more thrilling to me than watching Houston kind of do the same thing at home to an Iowa State.
Yep. I would agree with that. I considered Kansas for the pure fact that last year they shot no free throws and didn't allow many free throws. It's like, oh, game flow. That's great. But I kind of think Darren Peterson's going to shoot a ton of free throws. So that might not be the case this year. Not quite as much fun. Okay, that leaves the SEC for a final team in our top 7 Power 5 schools. We each have one from the SEC. Who is it for you?
You hurt your heart earlier by going anti-bias with the Illini in the Big Ten. I am doing the same by picking Vanderbilt out of the SEC.
Oh, I love it.
So they're not going to be most people's first pick because I don't know of anybody that has them in the SEC top 4 this year. I think everybody's got them top half, but I don't know of anybody who has them 4th or higher. But there is a real chance they have the best offense in the league. Mark Byington strikes me as a guy who's going to, whether I like it or not, be on to bigger and better things pretty soon. I don't think he's long for Vandy, and it's nothing against Vandy. I just think you might have like a once in a generation X's and O's star in your hands. And the combination of like Mike James on this roster, Duke Miles, who kind of committed late, Tyler Tanner, who I'm really into, really excited to see year 2 for him, and getting the Cornell transfer, aka Okereke, in here, one of my favorite players in all of hoops down the stretch last year. Devin McLaughlin is an awesome role piece. Just, they really have a great system. They have a lot of really good plug and play types. It's like I don't feel like they're ever going to have a true star. I know Jason Edwards kind of got close to that last year, but it felt like there are more impactful two-way guys on that team. The Byington system doesn't necessarily always produce a star, but it produces a lot of playable depth and a lot of good offense. We are giving bonus points here for the home court. I know a lot of people don't like Memorial Gym. I will say it doesn't look amazing on TV. If you go to a game, it is a truly unique experience. And I highly recommend everybody who lives within driving distance of Nashville go to at least one Vanderbilt game. Really fun experience. Even if you're a fan of the road team, really cool to go see. Vandy as a whole, they're like the students are pretty hyped now. It has this reputation for obvious reasons being like a snooty academic school, and to some extent it is. But I think on the football side this season so far, we've seen that kind of come out of its shell. Like they're selling more student tickets than ever. Basketball had such a good year that I wouldn't be shocked to see the same. It seems like Vanderbilt athletics on a whole seems to be on the rise, which is good for that school. Fan involvement is up, student excitement is up. The games last year were really fun. I feel like we're going to watch a lot of them this year because the way the SEC structures its schedules, they are going to be playing a lot of important home games, and they feel like they're going to be a main character a lot of the time for I don't have the schedules in front of me, but let's say like Florida might have to travel to Memorial Gym, UK might have to, Arkansas might have to, Tennessee will have to. There's all of these teams they're going to host and play a pretty big role in the outcome of their season for.
Yep, they had last year they had the like back-to-back Saturdays of Tennessee and Kentucky home wins. They ended up getting Mizzou late in a great overtime game, which killed me, but was also a fantastic home victory. They beat Chris Beard at home. There is a like added benefit to playing there, I think, and that style is fun. A lot of high pressure defensively. They've got some steals mavens. You mentioned Tanner. Frankie Collins is awesome at it. They've got a lot of shooting. Tyler Nickel is just like lights out when he's out there. It's a very fun style and a team that is probably going to be better, definitely better than any in the Stackhouse era, probably back in the NCAA tournament.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Well, so one factor I am going to mention here, because I'm looking at the schedule now, this will artificially deflate it a little bit. Two of the biggest home games this year, home Alabama, home UK in January, both midweek, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But they're both night games. You never have to tell a student to like get up for like a 8 p.m. tip. They'll go have fun.
Yeah, exactly. I went way more conventional with my SEC pick here. Well, I'm sorry for being vanilla, but there's one key factor with including Alabama as my SEC pick, and that's the schedule. Like Nate Oates just saying, come one, come all, we'll play you anywhere. So not only do you get the SEC schedule, but in the non-conference, they have at St. John's, Purdue, Illinois and Chicago, Gonzaga, UNLV, and a third Players Era game, Clemson, Arizona in Birmingham, South Florida, who I think is going to be the best team in the American. It's just like a murderer's row. Every game, if you're going to tune into Alabama, you've only got to deal with like 3 bye games, lots of great opponents that play fun styles. And Alabama plays fun styles too. I mean, they're up and down. We mentioned the rim and 3 rate. They're super dialed in on that. They had 3 games in Ken Palm's top 100 of excitement last year, the excitement statistic. It's just a lot of shootouts that are close, and that really sets up for a team that's highly watchable. And then just the sneaky potential of LeBaron Filan to break out into like true All-American caliber, first or second team if he doesn't hit the freshman wall like he did last year and is the maestro of this fantastic offense. I could see him kind of being a household name, a true star. Fit that in with the Nate Oates style. He's got a little bit of fun to him in press conferences and sideline antics and stuff that can always give you a little extra storyline. And the crowd there has gotten really good. It never really knew Coleman Coliseum as a great basketball venue, but it's been awesome with Oates. He's kind of brought that with him. So I'm riding with Alabama as my horse in the SEC.
Can I give you a weird, sort of not so talked about storyline to keep track of this year with Alabama?
Please do.
They have not beaten Tennessee since December 2021.
Wow, I did not know that.
3 seasons in a row, 4 games total. But it's a weird thing that Rick Barnes, of all people, seems to have the antidote to the Alabama pace and space offense, which you just wouldn't expect.
Yeah, it's not quite like Randy Bennett having the Gonzaga antidote. I wouldn't have expected Rick Barnes to be the guy that has solved Nate Oates' speed. And obviously last year they had that really close, like incredible game with the Meshack walk-off buzzer beater. But for the listeners at home, Will smiled very broadly at that mention.
Fond memories of my life.
I had to bring up some fond memories.
I'll be on the deathbed at age 87 or whatever, and I'll just be thinking Meshack.
Yes, exactly.
So nice.
Do they call it the Mayshot? They should call it the Mayshot.
I don't think that's creative enough, or like it's too creative, I would say, for our beat writers.
Okay.
But so they do actually play twice this year, which is fun. But yeah, like you mentioned, Alabama, and I really respect Oates for this, continuously unafraid to schedule anybody anywhere. It's like, do you remember like Fresno State football 20 years ago, where they would be like, hey, we're going to play Wisconsin and we're going to play Alabama in the same damn season.
I don't remember
and they're
that.
just like,
That's
we'll play.
Sadistic.
Well, their coach's tagline was any place, anywhere, anytime. And I feel like that's Nate Oates to a T. And I do like that about him.
Yep, very much so. And it's just, for watchability, like if I know I'm going to see that many more good games, I'll ride with that. Do we want to do a quick honorable mention before we do the dishonorable mention, Will? Are there any others you just like really needed to shout out?
Yeah, I'll do a quick few here. Hat tip to Kentucky. I think we're going to watch a lot of UK this year. Mark Pope, X's and O's goddess at the moment.
Goddess.
Really running the show. Oh, God, sorry. Yeah, he's still male as far as I know. Yeah. Ohio State, I'm afraid I am going to watch a lot of this year because they have a very high offensive upside. And there is lingering intrigue there of, am I watching this coach's last game every time I tune in after about Valentine's Day?
Yeah.
So there's that. I didn't put Michigan on this list, but I probably should have considered them more. Yet the Axe Attack is going to be awesome to watch. Just scanning my list here. Indiana we talked on.
I had Ohio State as well. I considered UCLA in the Big Ten because I think they're going to tilt way more towards offense, but Mick Cronin will have some tantrum pressers that keep you entertained. But the home environment is like dead. I don't love a Pauley game. I consider Marquette because of the internal continuity and just kind of like a sign of respect to being a somewhat dinosaur in this era. But I didn't have a ton of honorable mentions that we haven't mentioned at least already.
I'll throw one in there. Texas A&M. I'm going to watch more of than I should. I don't even think that it's going to be amazing basketball. I'm just really curious to see if it works.
Yep. The Bucky ball in the SEC. That's a great call. It's super intriguing.
Dusty ball is an entirely different connotation.
Yes, exactly.
That's the YMCA locker room, my friend.
Okay, let's get mean real quick. Dishonorable mention.
Let's go.
I tried to not just like discredit the worst teams here. I picked like 2 or 3 NCAA adjacent, NCAA caliber that I have no interest in watching. I'll give a quick reason why. But Will, do you want to give yours first? I guess we can go back and forth to do them real quick here.
I'll do my hate list here. I'll just knock out. I've got 4 on here. Dishonorable mentions. Seton Hall, don't need to see that. I'm good. Boston College. I can't figure out a single reason why I would want to tune into a Boston College game this year. Totally dead home environment, dead duck coach, roster sucks, logo makes me think of Matt Ryan for some reason. Just I don't really need much of that going on. And then 2 others. Ole Miss just doesn't seem like a very fun roster.
Yeah.
Home environment, not really great. I know like the Tad Pad has a bit of a reputation, but it's just like kids dressed up in banana suits. Not totally my thing. Kind of like on the SEC spectrum, definitely on the duller end of home venues.
Yep.
And gotta say it, buddy, Chris Beard gives me the ick. Arizona State also would be on this list. It's a program committed to anti-watchability. And at some level, you'd have to tip the cap. But at another level, you do have to call the FBI on them. And then one other I did consider is Cincinnati. I think they'll be too good to be truly unwatchable. But I just, Jesus, man, please play a game where both teams score above 60.
Yeah, Cincinnati's kind of an eat your vegetables team, and I don't need to be
But
eating
like
my.
steamed
Yeah,
vegetables.
yeah,
Steamed vegetables, no salt, no pepper.
yeah. Losing Jizzle James actually helps because I don't need the
Yeah.
mid-range barrage of inefficient basketball, a little bit ball hoggery, and yeah, I'm okay with them without him. I have no crossover with you, Will.
Oh,
Surprisingly,
hell yeah.
there were a couple teams that I considered on your list, but I love Bud Clark too much. Aiden Shaw, Mizzou to BC, just barely cut them off my list. I went with Texas because I don't need to see the my
Ooh.
turn, your turn of Jordan Pope, Tremont Mark, that entire backcourt, and I just didn't really get warm and fuzzies watching Sean Miller's offense last year, and he may or may not be over the hill in that department.
They still have Kendall Weaver, right?
Yeah, he's fun.
Okay, -5 points in watchability
Oh,
for me.
really? Okay, okay.
Don't like it.
The
Just
hustle,
not a fan.
the hustle man.
It's kind of like if he's on your team, you're a fan. If he's not,
Yeah.
yeah.
Maryland, I'm out on Buzzball. Seen enough of it.
Yeah.
It's maybe there's a little bit more perimeter potency this year. Maybe Miles Rice has a resurgence, but Pharrell Payne and Solomon Washington just kind of onslaughting the glass. I'm good. Georgia Tech, I cannot
Considered.
stand watching them. I used to like the home venue, and now it's close to giving me the ick. Will, like when it was fun Paul
Yeah.
Hewitt teams I was in, and now the Pastner into Stoudemire era, just I don't get good vibes from it.
You know what I think of when I watch their home games is not Georgia Tech. I think of that SEC tournament they had to play there.
Yes, exactly. They relocated from
Probably
Atlanta.
not good if your home venue makes me think of something you had no involvement with.
Yeah, totally different conference entirely. And then my last one on here that I feel the most strongly about is Villanova, because if you bring Devin Askew to your program, I have one rule with that, and it is I don't want to watch you play. So sorry, Villanova. If you bench him, I will consider things. I will consider watching a Caden Lewis, but I don't need any more Devin Askew in my life. I'm good. I've had enough. I'm ready to move on.
That's fair. I'm gonna give like maybe a couple. Like these are not teams I'd seriously consider, but I just don't think I want to watch much of them. Just kind of out on the Georgetown project for now. Not my thing. Home venue's depressing at the
Oh, it's
moment
so depressing.
because it's either they play on the on campus venue, which isn't as bad, or they play at the Wizards venue, which is cavernous for their games.
Yep.
And I don't think I'm gonna watch much UCF. Nothing against him, nothing against Johnny Dawkins. Not my vibe.
Yeah, I respect him for trying to be fun last year, like speeding it up, shooting a bunch of threes, but it's a very, very odd roster. Too many guys from UW Milwaukee, which is odd.
They don't have as many cool alternates as football does either, because football has the space helmets, which I like.
Yeah.
But basketball kind of seems to have lost. They've lost the uniform budget.
Ooh, quick question for you on watchability. Do you like the silhouetted stuff on the court? Like UCF has Disney World and UNLV has the strip, kind of like on the court,
Yeah,
soft painting. I'm a big fan of it. I'm curious what you
that's
think.
fine.
Okay.
I got no issue with it. Now, there are some where it's like the full alternate color courts do rub me the wrong way because it
Yeah.
gives me a bit of a headache.
Yep.
Like, I don't want anybody to do. Is it Eastern Michigan that has the gray field?
Yes, and like Eastern Washington,
Okay,
I think is a
I
red
don't want
football
that type
field.
of stuff in my
Yeah.
sport.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
That's unk mode. I don't want like red court,
Yes.
but like the Oregon court deal, fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
it's
Yeah,
unique.
I like it
It's
too.
watch like I know it's an Oregon game when I tune in.
Yeah, I think the big caveat is it needs to be unique. Like Virginia
Mhm.
Tech has a couple campus buildings on their floor, and it's like this isn't unique. The way that like Vegas having the strip on the court is actually something that stands out and is not a clone of every other campus building on every other college campus.
Tennessee should just put a big like crystal on their court,
Is
like
that a
the
thing?
restaurant. Yeah, that's
Oh,
like a Southern White Castle.
oh, I was thinking like not crystal with a K, but yes, I've had a couple
Like
crystal sliders in my past. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they're putting rocks and crystals in the corner.
Exactly. I was like, are them and Danica Patrick like really into crystal? I remember that was a thing.
I tried during the home field ad reads to give you the AJ Hawk, and I think I'm getting good at it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's quick do our mid majors here. Well, we are over an hour and whatever. I actually don't have anywhere to be today, but
Yeah.
let's get to mid majors. I told you this before we started recording. Part of my consideration was like, I want to watch certain conferences in the mid-major world. So I tilted towards a couple of teams in those conferences, but we'll get to that. Who is your number one mid-major pick?
It's always Memphis. I'm gonna watch too much Memphis this year every freaking year because it's like it's always entertainment. Like sometimes they indirectly put a penis on the court by the way they color the sidelines. Sometimes they score 97. Sometimes they lose at home to Tulsa. Sometimes Penny Hardaway calls out the local media and calls them MFers. Sometimes Penny Hardaway loves the local media. Sometimes Penny puts his own son in the game for way too long. And then sometimes they're good. You never ever know which. It is truly the box of chocolates team. You have no idea at any turn what is coming. You have no idea what you're going to get. God almighty, do I love watching Memphis games.
It's a totally chaotic experience. Very well described by you there. I have nothing to add.
Extra point here. It's not on court, but an extra point for that it's Will GTG something?
Yes.
It's the Memphis area code 901. Will GTG 901. Extra point for his spaces after they lose.
Oh, they're deranged. It's awesome.
Oh, they're terrific. It's like, did you listen to that guy do like a drive time radio rant about the Bears losing on Monday Night Football?
No, it sounds amazing.
Let me. I'll text it to you. It's a classic.
And I will also say that the watchability has grown based on their court design. Like it was terrible for a couple of years. Now they've got like a little bit more of a presentable one. It's easier to watch, easier on the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my number one, and there's a little bit of bias here. My brother attended this university, but St. Louis University. I think we need to enjoy Robbie Avila while we have him. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Larry Nerd, whatever it is you want to call him. He's a treasure in college hoops, the kind of guy that doesn't really succeed that much in the pros, but can fit in the college game. Great passer, great shooter. Big man, doesn't move all that well. They've got more depth. They've got more offensive firepower, and there's a little bit of post-hype sleeper with Josh Schertz, where I think he was all the rage last year. People kind of forgot about him because they didn't have any depth and tailed off last season. But I think St. Louis is going to be a ton of fun to watch with the pieces they added and then simply having Robbie Avila.
Good pick there. I took them off my list at the last minute because I had a feeling you would take them.
Okay, good. Smart.
But people do forget Schertz had like a pretty bad first year at Indiana State, and then year two things started to click. So I won't be shocked at all by the same thing happening here. All
right, number two for you, mid-majors.
I hate how I'm doing this, but I'm going UNLV. I'm invested in I'm responsible for the Mountain West preview for our site. And the more I looked at the roster, the more I was like, how did they get all of this talent? Because I was told, I asked around when Pastor got the job, and a friend of mine who I can't name was like interviewing there for a job, and he said, Pastor told me they don't have any money. And then I look at the roster and it's like, you have money. This is like, there's a lot of talent on this roster. Like, stop what you're doing after you listen to the show, of course, finish the show out, and go look at the names on the UNLV roster. That's like a top 3 talent group. But the wild card here is Pastner, who I like, love him or not, and he is a really lovable individual. Never been much of an overachiever with talent, kind of just an achiever at best.
Yeah.
But you add all of that in, you add UNLV's weird court design, which I like. You add the fact that every year around, let's just spitball and say March 3rd, people are like, oh, UNLV hosts the conference tournament. This is their year. That's always a great storyline. Extra point for when they pull out the UNLV alternates that are like running Rebs tributes. You don't see them often, but they need to get on New Mexico's design game. Particularly, New Mexico has an incredible uniform design, just theme in general going on. So if they can get there, they'll be in biz. I think I'm going to watch more UNLV than I should this year.
Yeah, I'm pumped for it too. It can be a really good atmosphere out there. I attended a game in person when San Diego State was undefeated and the place was packed. The city kind of wants to back the team because there is no pro basketball, but it's a huge arena and can feel a little lifeless if there's not like a team worth cheering for. I hope they can spur that excitement and get Vegas going because it could be a really cool venue on TV and in person. And as you mentioned, the talent's there. There's a lot there. And maybe you get Pastner doing something goofy, like wearing his dentist shield that he wore during the COVID years. So maybe not quite that exactly, but he can be entertaining enough to provide a little moment off the floor.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my second choice was mainly because I really wanted a SoCon team, and the league that has been number 1 or number 2 in 3-point attempt rate for the last 8 years. Like, you're getting bombs away in this league. It's it's happening. I went with Chattanooga. Clearly, Dan Earl, who we mentioned his brother Brian Earl with the William and Mary and Cornell connection. Dan Earl loves shooting. This roster is going to be 5 out a ton of the time. Big guys that can shoot, wings that bomb away, guards that can get into gaps and set that up. They recruit well from Division II. He's got a point guard in Brendan Watkins that was at VMI with him like 4 years ago. So he's got some familiarity. I think that's a little bit fun. So the guard play, they played some really exciting games last year, namely the NIT championship that Will and I discussed on our best games of 2025-26. Chattanooga's a lot of fun. The conference is a ton of fun. So if I'm watching Chattanooga, I get to see Furman. I get to see a couple other schools in that league. So I had to go with the Mocs.
That's a good pick. Good local pick too. Solid arena. Not like an amazing fan experience, but solid mid-major arena.
Okay. All right. Taking your word for it. I have not been to old UTC, but I have driven through Chattanooga and it's a beautiful drive. So I got that.
It is a great drive. You got to go to the Tennessee Aquarium, man. Greatest aquarium in America.
Oh, okay. All right. Sign me up. All right. Your last mid-major pick, Mr. Warren.
I got to go, and this is an off-the-wall pick, but I'm finding them more off the wall the more I dive in, is Radford.
Ooh.
I really intriguing hire process. So they basically hired the third mic on this show, Zach Chu. If the fellow stats nerd himself, I'm personally very invested in his success because that means that they're not far off from just hiring one of us at some point. Which I don't think would be nearly as I in particular would be horrible at it, but I got to give him some credit. It's a really well done roster portal wise for that level. They've clearly invested a lot of money in it. It helps that Zach Shu's father is, to my understanding, very rich. Like I think the thing here is like they outbid Clemson to get a player, correct?
Yes.
Del Jones.
Yep.
And his asking price was not cheap. So that's one thing. But the other, the company that Zach Chu's father works for and built is like under FBI investigation.
Okay,
Like,
that's interesting.
for money laundering. Like, they're a multi-billion-dollar company, and it just so our guy Mr. Big South posted this the other day, and I'm trying to find the article so I don't screw it up. But the point is like the money might only last 1 year, which interests me. And because it's got a little bit of what was the Miami guy?
Oh,
like
the Life
LifeLock or
Wallet.
something?
Life Wallet.
Life Wallet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's got a little bit of that to it. Like they're going to go all in on this 1 year, which I'm really interested for. They already have a really cool roster. I think they're Big South favorites. Radford being good is also cool. Just seems like a cool thing to have happen in the sport. And like I said, really personally invested in this guy's success. Big South also has some exciting teams to me. That's a good conference, fairly flat conference too. So all the games will be competitive. High Point you'll get to see. Winthrop you'll get to see. I'm always intrigued by Longwood and UNC Asheville. And even the dregs of the conference will have something interesting to say about it. So I like it.
My last cut for this list was High Point. I think the Big South is an extremely fun league. High Point gets up and down. They've got a really good home venue because of like the investment that they've made in the program. So yeah, I think having a team in the Big South is a really good choice. I unfortunately defaulted to my late night boo. This is my go to bed conference here, Will. That would be the Big West. I had to get somebody from the Big West. And this one is ultimately a coach thing. I went with Cal Poly, my Mustangs, who were way better last year after hiring Mike DeGeorge from Colorado Mesa. 1 year, he kind of came in and did the mini Drake rebuild where he brought a bunch of starters with. The team was a lot better. The roster this year is maybe a little iffy. They didn't really hit the portal very hard. That's a question for me. The one guy they got is Hamad Musa, the Qatari player that was at Dayton, who had a ton of hype last offseason. I could see him having a major star turn for Cal Poly, but they play up tempo. The offense is gorgeous, like half court execution. For anyone familiar with the Slap and Glass podcast, I think DeGeorge did a 2-part series with them because they were just so enthralled by his concepts and his thought process behind everything. They were lethally efficient when he was at Colorado Mesa, like Josh Schertz level efficient. And last year's Cal Poly team had that going too. A lot of layups, a lot of threes. And I think he's kind of a rising coaching star. Whether that happens with this particular roster, it remains to be seen. But I want to watch them play, and I want to watch the entire Big West. So I get to see Irvine. I get to see UC Santa Barbara and their collection of basically like an American Conference level roster, a Mountain West level roster. That's exciting to me, and just generally the pace that Cal Poly plays at. So that was my last choice, Will. Apologies to High Point.
That's a good pick. They're going to play some intriguing games too. Like, yeah, I mean, they'll have some. They always seem to pick up like a good non-conference opponent or two in there.
Yeah, last year they beat Stanford on the road. They beat Seattle. They beat Eastern Washington. Like much more reputable programs than the really disaster that Cal Poly had been for years. And Mike DeGeorge rescued them. So I think they're intriguing.
So that I didn't. So they do play at Colorado State November 12, at Utah November 20, at UCLA December 19. So there you go.
Let's get him to pick one of those off. Get the hype building for Mr. DeGeorge. Sorry to Cal Poly that I'm like already stealing your great hire, but I want to see him continually rising the coaching ranks because I think he's a star. All right. Any other honorable mentions for you in the mid-major one, Will, before we wrap this up?
Well, we're always going to watch a lot of Gonzaga. I think that's a given. Santa Clara deserves a shout out on this too. They've become one of the most surprisingly fun mid-majors over the last several years. I've never had an issue with watching their games. I definitely should have tried to squeeze in Utah State. Utah State's always enjoyable. This year is going to be no exception to that rule. I think that I'm going to be really intrigued by Bradley as well. Bradley,
Oh, yeah, you're Jaquan Johnson, your guy.
Jaquan Johnson, but also I'm just waiting for Brian Wardle to get a job offer from any Big Ten school. Like,
Yeah.
what's the holdup there?
Yeah, it's bizarre. He's won at Bradley. Yeah, that pretty much wraps up. I avoided the MAC because it was so bad last year, but Toledo and Kent State and a couple of those teams are very fun. The CAA, I like a couple teams, but it's so top heavy. There's some terrible teams at the bottom I don't want to watch. So it ended up a little bit tricky, but I like where we settled. I think we landed on some good teams. Curious who everybody else would go with. Basket on Review AMA channel in the Discord. Holler back at us or come at us on Twitter. We appreciate that too. If you're just listening and not quite into Basket Under Review inside the Discord yet. But so do that. Leave reviews. We realize we haven't been plugging that at all. If you're listening to the pod, we would love a rating, a review. That certainly helps the show, and we can read it on the episode if that would be pleasing for people. But that's it. We got our league pass rankings here. Will, any other words to leave the people with before I sign them off?
No, this was fun. People, you got to sign up for our site. The conference previews are coming soon. Basketball's under 50 days away as of this week. We are close.
That's so exciting. You get so off-season pilled with college basketball because it's long. It just whenever the games actually start approaching, it creates an even bigger excitement. So yeah, get into the Discord, get into the website. Highly recommend that. Only $10 a month. Thank you to Trilly, our overlord, for getting all this set up. Thank you to Corey behind the scenes for the production. I appreciate Will dealing with me 3 times in a week. He's had to look across the Zoom screen at me, so we appreciate that. And thank you to the listeners. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you again next week with a topic to be named later. We'll see you then.